Hi there, welcome to week 5 of Textile Techniques. Tonight I'll be showing you how to do fabric manipulation using Bondaweb. So this is just a small example of what your final piece might look like, but just before we get there I'll show you what to do. So this is your Bondaweb paper. If you've never used it before, you'll find that one side is really smooth and the other side is quite rough. The rough side is the side of the glue, so that's the piece that you want to have stuck down onto your fabric. So I'll show you how to use that. Now for tonight's class, if you have a contrast fabric that you can use, that would be great. If not, just feel free to use the calico that you have in your pack. So you have your A5 swatch here, you have your contrast fabric, and what I want to do is create shapes and have that laid onto the fabric so it's more of a flat surface. So that's slightly different from what we did last week when we were creating more texture with our contrast fabrics. For this technique we want to create a more of a flat surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my Bondaweb paper. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be drawing any shapes on the smooth side. Now you can almost use this as a sort of kind of tracing paper, so if there's any images that you've maybe seen from your research that you want to use, you can use that. Or if you just want to have a play about, then you can just draw directly onto the paper. So what you kind of would want to do is just to create any shapes that you like. I'm just going to do a wee half circle. Once you've drawn out a few shapes, then what I would do is just roughly cut them out like this. Take your contrast fabric, making sure that your rough side is facing down onto the fabric. And then with your iron, you're going to hold it over, just iron over it for maybe 5 to 10 seconds. I would recommend having it up roughly to the highest heat just to make sure that the glue is going to stick to the fabric. Once you've done that, just lift up your fabric, make sure it's not too hot to hold. You're then going to get your scissors and you can cut around your shape. Also, I'm going to do this a little bit, probably quite rough just for the video. Take all my scraps away. Now that you've got that stuck down, Bondaweb is almost like double-sided sticky tape, so you should be able to peel back part of the paper. And then this is a bit obviously where it doesn't really want to work for me. Come on. I think I've stuck it down too well. There we go, finally. So you'll see your fabric's kind of got like a bit of a sort of texture on it. So once you've pulled that away, you then want to get your fabric sample where you're going to create your pattern. You want to make sure that this side is down on the fabric, and then you're just going to iron on top of that again for maybe 5 to 10 seconds just to make sure that that has stayed down. Let that just sort of cool down a little bit. Now once you've got your shape onto your fabric, that is going to hopefully keep that sort of staying put, and it kind of creates a bit of a kind of rigid feel to the fabric. And then what we're asking you to do is to stitch around the entire shape. So last week we were just getting you to stitch maybe just one area. For this technique we're going to get you to stitch around the entire shape so it looks a little bit, your sort of finished piece will look a little bit like this. Now what type of stitch you decide to use is completely up to you. For this particular one I've done like a kind of chain stitch, but you can do, you know, your running stitch, your back stitch, a chain stitch. You can do anything that you've learned so far that you want to create onto your fabric. So for people who don't have the Bondaweb, it's just a really simple technique where you can just draw your shapes that you want or cut your shapes out, place them onto the fabric and then just stitch down. The only difference is with the Bondaweb, it does keep it in place, but if you've got pins, just pin your shape down onto the fabric and then just stitch around. So that is tonight's class, is textile techniques with Bondaweb.